What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to Small Biz just after 11:30 a.m. East Coast outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Last trade on Mullen, 453 MCOM 0411. The obvious question of the day is, does that $18 million LOI that Sal has for Hopium have potential disaster written all over it? Or is there huge upside? All that and more coming right up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, happy hump day to you. Like I said, last trade on Mullen, 453 to be exact, 0411. And yes, you should be in buying a stock that's currently 8.5 that we were loading up in the high 8s, down from 24, hit 8, went to 11.5. You should be all over it at 8.5 or thereabouts. But today's focus is going to be all about MCOM, formerly known as HellBiz, currently Micromobility. Last trade 0410, which is an all-time low. I am going to shock and surprise some of you today by talking to Sal, if I will. I've never had a conversation by phone or email. As a trusted advisor, as a colleague, as someone who might be inside of the boardroom before he pulls the trigger on this LOI. I will cover everything that we know currently, and it is a fluid situation. I will also bring into the conversation the YAYO LOI that never went through, the potential takeover of Van Moof that failed, and what he's trying to do with a hydrogen car turned hydrogen fuel cell company by the name of Hopium. In the comments below, isn't it rather ironic? In the comments below, let me know. Are you buying, selling, or holding MCOM? Last trade 0411. I'm waving the yellow flag. I will explain why in the next 10 or 15 minutes. I own a ton of stock, full disclosure, at 12-cent average. I've been buying this damn thing for months along with most of you. We're down huge, whether it's 50, 60, 80, 90%. It depends on your certain particular situation. But in the comments, are you buying? What's your average? Are you selling? Are you freaked out? Give me the next 10 or 15 minutes to explain what I know. From the standpoint of not ripping Sal apart, that'd be way too easy. But as a potential colleague, as a way of maybe talking this guy off a ledge, and I want to start, Sal, if you will, by praising you for the last 2 or 3 months. Since you went public as a $10 SPAC under HLBZ, reverse split adjusted, the fucking stock is worth less than a penny. You have driven 99.9% of shareholder value into the fucking ground, and you spent most of the last 18 months chastising shareholders, including myself, and we don't need to repeat the names that you've called me, including demanding an apology before the stock dropped almost 97%. But that's not the subject of today's video. I want to start, as I tried to just say, by praising you for a job well done. In the last few months, you've done a lot of things that are very, very good. You cut down the workforce by 20%. You got out of non-profitable entities inside of the business, HellBiz Streaming, and just recently HellBiz Kitchen. You launched a retail store in Soho, and while some of us said, wow, that's got to be awfully expensive, the word on the street, and we do have people that are members of our community that live there that said the store, even with the new green sign, is cool as hell. It might need a little bit more product, but it's very trendy. And anyone that does have a Wheels and or a HellBiz bike says nothing but good things about it. So you've got a skinny down workforce. You got out of the non-profitable entities of streaming and kitchen. You got a very successful Soho store. You've got a subscription business that's going through the roof, so much so that you're expanding to Austin, Miami, LA, etc. But then we had to wake up this morning to your third bite of a potentially bankrupt Apple with your Hopium. And wow, isn't that rather ironic? Full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, Hopium was going to be a very modern EV/hydrogen fuel vehicle. Machina, depending on where you're from, 131,000, I think was the retail tag. It got put on hold. Back in July, the courts put this company, Hopium, into receivership. That's like one step in front of totally insolvent/bankrupt. You can do that to pay off debt, to conserve cash, etc. But it's not a very good sign. And as I pointed out on Twitter, they've had one tweet of their own in the last year. They were tweeting up a storm in 2022 when they were trying to get Machina and that car off the ground. They last tweeted on their own in April. It is not good when you're in receivership, you have no social media presence whatsoever, and here comes Sal once again after failing at YAYO, which, by the way, if you call their phone number, they are out of business, failing at VanMoof, which I understand why he was trying to go after a formerly premier e-bike manufacturer that ran into hard times based on pandemic problems related to the supply chain, but now he's going after Hopium and offering up a $15 million shareholder loan and a potential $3 million convertible bond, which would give him majority ownership, AKA, I'm assuming, 51%. So you're trying to tell us, in so many words, that the company, which is in receivership right now, is only worth approximately $6 million, but wait for it, you're willing to give them a loan for over twice that amount. To do what with the money? To do more research and development? Sal, and I say this with the utmost respect, long the stock. I'm okay if it goes to zero. Will it hurt? Of course. But I'm trying to represent thousands of people with your stock at another all-time fucking low, telling you as we speak, they want no part of this potential fiasco that you're about to get in. I'm waving the flag. I'm trying to talk you off the ledge because quickly, if we could review, back in the summer, you signed another non-binding LOI, same as you're doing now with Hopium, with YAYO, a commercial fleet company. They had their investment banker go out of business. They were on hard times. You offered a full merger, it looked like, 1-for-1. The stock for them at the time was 8 cents. It's now worth less than a penny. Once you canceled that LOI a few weeks ago, they went out of business. You can't get anyone on the phone out there now. So we dodged landmine number 1. Landmine number 2 was VanMoof. You were going after a company that at their peak 2 years ago was 15 to 20 times larger the size of you. I get it. You're a dreamer. You're a risk taker. You're a dice roller. I can appreciate that. But that fell through for a number of reasons because your offer, whatever it was, wasn't adequate enough for the bankruptcy court or the judge that was in charge of the case. So that apparently has gone away. They're still, from what I can gather, in Chapter 11. This morning, we wake up and you tell us that we're going to go after Hopium. So YAYO, we were going to merge with them. They're completely out of business now. We were going to try to take over VanMoof. That fell through. They're still in big fucking trouble. Now we're going to go after a car company / fuel cell manufacturer that's, from what I can gather, bankrupt and or completely deficient in the cash department. So I'm certain that I believe it was Atlas, sounds like a SPAC, that you're talking to is more than willing to take your $15 million and quite possibly flush it right down the fucking toilet. You know, I know, anyone who's got a fucking head on their shoulders knows that you've got a 10 or 15% chance at best of getting a return on your investment. But I understand, once again, the logic. If you read between the lines, ladies and gentlemen, inside of the press release, hydrogen has a greater storage capacity than lithium. I get it. Sal is kind of intimating, or is he, that he's going to use hydrogen potentially in the next generation of scooters and e-bikes. But Sal, you're talking about a company that's in receivership. They are knocking on heaven's door. They have little to no money. Their SPAC, their investment advisor, whatever Atlas happens to be, is going to be more than willing to take your money because from what I can gather, they've been unsuccessful raising any on their own. But if you only have a 10 or 15% of this technology, and by the way, they're not going to be certified according to the press release until April of 2024. So any ROI, if there is any fucking chance at all, Sal, is going to be what? A year to 18, 24 months away? Instead, if you can come back off the ledge, and you may be dangling a carrot in front of the Thursday meeting, if you're playing games, maybe like you were with YAYO in the midst of diluting up to 300 million fucking shares with Yorkville. If you're doing this to go in Thursday and tell the panel, I've got a great idea. We're a Green New Deal company. We're trying to get the world off of oil, who isn't in the Biden administration, onto the electric grid. And instead of having lithium batteries, we're going to have hydrogen batteries or hydrogen fuel cells. But to my knowledge, Sal, no one is doing it successfully worldwide, not even Elon Musk. Don't you think he and or one of his investments would have figured that out by now? Instead, if you would please, consider the fact that you're skinny down. You've exited all the non-profitable businesses. And while it is true that you've jacked us up 30x from where we were at 10 million shares to approximately 300 million outstanding now, you obviously have 18 and what we think is close to 30 or $35 million in cash. Sal, in the last quarter of ending in June, you had less than $1 million. So yeah, you 30x the supply, but you also 30x'd or thereabouts your cash. You have a story to tell now. Even with the stock at an all-time low of 0412, where the street is saying we don't want anything to do with this hopium, I'm hoping you can get the extension. On Thursday, we won't know, ladies and gentlemen, for at least 2 or 3 weeks, and then come back out of whatever hopium stage you're in right now and rework the story. We got out of what wasn't working. We're focusing on what is: e-bikes, scooters, and subscription. As I said in my last video or two, the whole world's going subscription. Mercedes-Benz, for one, now has a subscription service, not a lease, but actually a fucking subscription service inside of urban areas if you want one of their cars. Sal, you've got a chance to turn the company around. You should have went public now with the subscription model that you have, and now with all this cash that you have. If you do the math, you got 10 cents in cash with your stock trading currently at 0412. You've got 2.5 times roughly cash relative to where the stock is. And if you come out in the next few weeks and say, look, we had a change of heart, the terms weren't that good, I thought about it, make something up that sounds good for the rest of us. We want to focus from here on out on what we do best. We're going to let go and leave behind the rest. And if you'll do that, Sal, I'm convinced that the stock, especially with an extension, can on its own go north of a dime, a quarter, etc. But in closing, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please, there's 2 ways, Sal, that you can help lower the temperature of the room and potentially, and I say potentially, change my yellow caution flag back to green, which is where it was a couple of days ago. Number 1, get an institution to step in right now. Where are the institutions? 0411, all-time low. Where are they? I don't see them. If you can get a BlackRock or someone along those lines to come in with 10, 15, 20 million shares, okay, you got my attention. And perhaps even better, scenario number 2, you know, the guy that a year ago was buying millions of shares of HLBZ, reverse split adjusted at $8, $9, $10, $12 a share. Answer us, Sal. We've asked you many, many times, why? Oh, why, with the stock at 4 cents and small change, are you not buying? Now that the cat's out of the bag, now that you've publicly announced that this is your intention, you're not under some quiet period. You can come out right now and put your fucking money where your mouth is. You can say, look, I understand it's a risk. I understand that getting into the hydrogen fuel cell business sounds a bit risky, and it is. Be honest with your shareholders. It might take you somewhere, but then step in with 10, 20, 30 million shares of your own, preferably alongside an institution. Get the stock back up and over a dime. I don't know, today, tomorrow, or shortly after you meet with NASDAQ, and then you got a chance. But if you're going to go in there Thursday with some bullshit pie in the sky hopium story that they're most likely going to see through, me, and everybody watching is absolutely FUCKED. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, always remember that I love you, I'm looking out for you, and thank you so much for watching.